Hello and welcome to lesson 5 in our Vray 3 for Rhino 6 tutorials. We are going to use the Rhino sun settings as well as a default Vray sky map in this particular lesson. So if you want to follow along, go ahead and open up Winston's Cabin Rhino 6 Vray starter and let's get started. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go to my perspective view. Actually, before I do that, I'll go back to my top view. And we are about to put our cabin roughly where it is in the world. It's going to be in Seattle, and you'll notice that the north is at 270 degrees here. So I want you to remember that north is at 270. Let's go ahead. I'm going to double click my top window, double click my perspective, and set up a little view here. All right. Now, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up my asset editor in Vray. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and click on the little teapot here and start an interactive render. All right, here is my interactive render down here. You'll notice nothing is happening at the moment. There we go. Okay, and we don't know what our settings are. It just happens to be, could be a default light, could be a sun. Let's go ahead and check. I'm going to go ahead. Right now you can see we're in the render tool tabs. If yours looks like this, you're in your standard tabs. So what you need to do is go up here to the render tools tab, click on that, and click on the sun panel. Okay, and here's my sun panel, and you'll notice right now my sun is on and my manual control is on. And if my manual control is on, that means I can basically adjust the azimuth and the altitude, right? And I can get some pretty nice and quick studies. And again, depending upon what type of rendering you're doing, you may or may not want to choose this option. Okay, this is certainly the easier option, but let's go ahead and do things the hard way. I'm going to uncheck manual control. And when I do that, I'm going to get a nice long list here. All right. I want to do two things. Number one, I'm going to change my north from there to actually there. Whoop, there we go. So I'm actually just going to rotate 90 degrees off the x-axis, and that should give me my north. Okay. And now I'm going to go down here to the bottom. I'm going to make sure that I am in Seattle. Okay. And you'll notice that I have the option to go ahead and change the time of year. Let's go ahead and just find a good time of year and a good time of day. Give us good shadows. That's a good time of the day. And I'm just looking in the VFB, the frame buffer here. And that looks pretty interesting at the moment. Okay, I'm going to click on my sun again. All right. Now, so I've got myself some sort of interesting shadows, an interesting time of day. All right. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and add in a sky map. So I can close my sun window. And if you need a refresher on what we just did, you can go back to some of the Vray 6 tutorials that we have created earlier for this class, and it goes into what we just did in far more depth. Okay. So I'm going to go over here to my settings. All right. And right now I've got my renderer set. I'm going to go down to my environment, and in my environment you have the option for a background. Okay, I'm going to click on my background, and you'll see right now I've got no background at all. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into here where it says sky, right here. All right, and I've just actually given myself a sun and sky. Now you can see it's pretty darn bright there because we had the settings for something a little bit earlier rather. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and click back. Okay, and Vray has had this odd bug where once you click back, it kind of shuts down. It doesn't allow you to open up the right side because we're doing these tutorials very early in the Vray 3 career. So let's see if that happens. Nope. So again, it's a wonderful bug that Vray's provided us with. I'm not going to be able to get back in here, but I am going to be able to go into my camera settings here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the settings so it looks a little bit better, and then I'm going to stop this lesson, all right, and restart Rhino so I can get this bug fixed, okay? Vray's insisted that they'll have it fixed sooner than later. Okay, so I've got my camera. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mess with the exposure value, the EV, right? If I move it to a higher value, I'm going to get less light. If I move it to a lower value, I'm going to get more light, right? So I'm going to go ahead and crank it up to the right. And you see as I move it to the right, it actually gives you a lower value. If I move it to the left, it gives me a higher value. So I'm going to take it up to about 14, 16, I'll say 14 and a half right there. That looks pretty good. And now I can turn on my sun panel, and now I can really start to mess with these shadows. And I can come to a decision as to, once I get some interesting shadows, then I can really start to tweak this a little bit. I'm going to get it maybe up to about 16, 15 and a half. All right, turn my light back on and mess with this time of day just a little bit. All right, I think that needs to go. There you go, about 14 and a half, pretty close to where I was. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the lesson right here, and I will see you in the next lesson. All right, thank you very much.